everyone, it's Megan with Fine Designs by Megan. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to do this super easy V-split tumbler using patterned vinyl up here, an ombre of 2 glitters right here, and then a chunky chameleon on the bottom. Okay, I will list all of my materials down in the description box. There are going to be a few codes and there's a link for the vinyl that you can go, and when you check out you will receive a discount using the link to my name. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I appreciate it. If you liked my video, give me a thumbs up. If you disliked it, I'm sorry. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me anything. If you want to say hi or give me some feedback or anything like that, or if there's something that you haven't seen that you want to see, let me know and maybe I'll make it. I don't know. We'll see. But let's go ahead and get started on this super easy tumbler that I actually completed this tumbler in less than 24 hours. It does not take very long, but I do use Liquidy Split by KS Resin. It is my go-to. It gives the perfect finish. I'm obsessed with it, so I did use that. If you don't use Liquidy Split or a fast set epoxy, it will probably take 20 or 48 to 72 hours. But I did use that, so it did take 24 hours, 4 coats of epoxy. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The supplies you're going to need for this tumbler is a white piece of scrap paper, a pencil, the blue painter's tape, a ruler. You're also going to need any vinyl of your choice. I'm using this vinyl from the Vinyl Craze. I have a tumbler that has been sanded, cleaned, and painted white. And then for the glitters that I'm going to be using, I'm going to be using this Chameleon chunky glitter from the Glitter Grind. It's called Alexandrite. And then I'm going to use Wednesdays and Orange Julius. That's going to be my middle section. And that glitter is from Peachy Olive Glitters. So with your piece of white paper, you're going to make a stencil so you can do your V-split. And what I do is I just trace the bottom of my cup. And then I'm going to take that circle and I will fold it in half. I'll cut it out and then fold it in half. And then once it's folded in half, what you'll do is you'll just flip your cup upside down. And you're going to put that piece and split the bottom of your cup in half. Once you have it split in half, you'll grab your pencil and you're going to mark where your half piece is on your tumbler and try to make it as close as you possibly can to your half mark, and then just do a little line on each side of your tumbler where that mark is. Then once you have it marked, you're going to flip your tumbler back up from the bottom, so you have it sitting down. And then I get a flat ruler and I set my ruler flat, and then I'm going to make sure it's completely even, and I will mark the top of my tumbler on each side, and that is going to be a straight line from bottom to top. And you're going to want to do that on both sides of your tumbler where you had marked your bottom. Make sure you do the top part on both sides. And then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure 3/4 of an inch from the top and the bottom where my lines are. And that is where I want my point to be on my V-split. I don't usually do a whole lot of V-splits by hand. I usually do them, instead of freehanding it, I actually do it with a template. But I just grabbed a tumbler that I had on my shelf and I didn't have the template for it. So we're just going to be doing it for freehand, this one. And then once I have my mark done, or my 3/4 inch, I'm going to grab blue painter's tape, which I had to edit a few times, and I'm just going to line it up and make sure that the tape goes from each angle to the next angle. Make sure it's flat and it's even. I did edit a few of these out of here because it took me a little bit to get it perfectly straight. As you can see, this is not my forte. It's why I like to do templates. but because it's a built tumbler, I didn't have a template for that one. Once you have it completely done, you're going to just trim off your excess blue tape and then go ahead and erase your pencil line so it's not shown through your glitter. I'm going to be using darker glitter so I don't have to worry about it, but that's just what I do. Then once you have your tape removed, make sure your markings are done, you're going to take it outside. And I painted mine purple to go with the glitter that I'm going to be using for my Chameleon. And now what I do is I grab a little bit of tape and I go ahead and I thicken up. I do about half of the blue tape and I thicken up my middle part because I'm going to be laying my vinyl on the top before I add my glitter. And so I just added about half of that width of that tape, and I just added that to make it thicker. Then I will cut the excess of that off, and then I will be ready to work on doing my vinyl. You could just use the thicker painter's tape. I had ran out, so I just grabbed this, and that's just usually how I do mine when I just want to add a little bit of thickness to that middle part. And the only reason I'm adding thickness on it is because I'm going to be doing an ombre of glitter. Okay, so now for the vinyl part and how I get my vinyl to be perfect to go into that section. I grab a piece of scrap paper and I just tape a little piece down, and then I'm going to grab my pencil once it's perfectly down and I have it where that end meets up perfect where my V is. I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to run it over where the tape line is, and it's going to leave me a dark line, and that's where I know where I'm going to need to trim that paper to make my template for my vinyl. So that's just what I'm doing here. I'm just going to rub my pencil over it, and then once that's done, I will cut my little V out and then match it up to my vinyl. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my piece of vinyl and I'm going to figure out where I want my print to be and how I want it to do, or how I want it to be on my cup. So I'm going to just trace that out, my template that I just made, onto my vinyl, and then I'm going to cut that piece of vinyl out, and that will fit perfectly into the section that I want it to be at. And this is just the best way for me to do it. If you have a different way to do it your way. Now, as I'm applying my vinyl, if you've watched my previous videos, you've probably seen me apply vinyl a few times. And I do it pretty much just like I do any other cup. So I'm going to lay it down in my V, make sure there's, it's up to the lines where it needs to be. There's no gaps. And then I will take a little piece of painter's tape and I will tape down that first end of where I want it to be. And see, I want my line to be perfectly lined up with that V at the top. So I'll tape that down right there. And then I will grab another piece of tape and I will go on to the other side. And I'm going to actually just tape that side completely down right there. I'll take maybe one or two pieces usually, and I'll just tape that down. And then once that's taped down right there, and I know it's going to match up perfectly, I will go back to where I first placed my tape on the first corner. I'm going to remove that tape, and then I will lift up that vinyl and I will cut off the backing of it just a tiny bit, not a whole lot, just a tiny bit, and that's where I will press down that vinyl, and that's going to be my starting point. And that's just the easiest way for me, but do what is best for you. That's just how I do it, and it always works out perfect that way. So once I have that done and I have it smoothed out, I'm going to remove the tape on the other side, and I will grab my squeegee with the felt on it. Make sure if you're using pattern vinyl or printed vinyl or any vinyl like that, use a squeegee with the felt on it, and it'll keep your vinyl from getting scraped and having any of your image removed. So then I turn the cup away from me like I always do, and I'm just going to gently rub it down and smooth it out. And usually when I do this and I do it this way, I don't get any air bubbles and it goes down perfect. And then I will just make sure it's completely pushed up against the edge and around the top. Make sure there's no air bubbles, no creases, nothing like that. And then once that is done and it's completely smoothed out around the tape, I will grab my X-Acto knife with a new blade on it, and I will trim up around the tape edge, make sure it's completely done, and then I will cut that part on the top, make sure it's even, fold over my vinyl, and then I will trim up the top, and it will just come off just like butter if you're using a new knife blade. But that's just what I do. Once that is done and it's completely trimmed up, I am going to grab a piece of that blue painter's tape, the piece closest to the vinyl, and I am going to remove that piece off, and then I'm going to take that piece of painter's tape and I'm going to put it on the edge of the purple paint that I had just painted, and I'm going to remove all of the painter's tape in the middle and then line up that blue. And I just try to use my painter's tape over again instead of wasting so much, but I end up wasting a ton anyways. And then once that is done, and I will cover up the pattern vinyl, I'm going to cover that up too, make sure it's completely covered, and then I will grab saran wrap and I'll even cover up the rest of that vinyl just to be safe. I don't want to leave any of my vinyl exposed. And what I'll do is I'm going to paint my middle section orange and hot pink to match my glitter. And that's what we're going to do in the next part. Okay, so this part, I do very slow spurts, and I'm going to be using the hot pink fluorescent Krylon paint from Walmart. And then I have this neon orange paint from Martha Stewart. I had the Krylon orange one, but I ran out. And then I'm just going to do my hot pink first, and I'm just going to do little bursts of it. I don't want to do a whole lot because I don't want it to run and be all globby. So I'm just doing soft, easy spurts, and I'm going to do about middle of that. And then I'll get my orange paint and I will do the rest of the white and I will ombre it. And try not to be too excessive on the orange. This orange does spray out a little bit thicker, so I am going to go over the pink just a little bit and thicken up that pink. And then once that's done, I'm going to let it dry for about 15 minutes before I add the glitter, and I will be adding the glitter with the epoxy method. After my paint is completely dried, I'm going to mix up 2 ml of KS Resin Liquidy Split. If you haven't tried it, you need to. It's amazing. And I'm just going to smooth out my epoxy. And with the Liquidy Split, you do kind of have to work a little bit faster because it does cure faster. But I want it to hurry and cure so I can move on to my next step. And I'm just going to smooth it out, make sure there's no gaps or anything like that. Make sure it's completely covered. And once that is completely done, I will start doing my ombre and my glitters. Now, this ombre and ombreing your glitters, you're going to ombre it just like you would a full tumbler. It's really easy. I know it looks hard, but it's actually really easy. And I will grab just a little measuring cup and I will just sprinkle on my pink. I do it a little bit heavier around the tape edges, but I will let the pink just kind of fall down into the orange paint section. And on your first coat, you just kind of want to do a light coat. You don't want to do too heavy or your glitter ombre will not blend as well. So I just try to do a very, very light coat at first, and then I'll kind of lift up my little whatever measuring cup and let it just sprinkle down into that orange section. Once you have your pink done and you have your pink glitter added, go ahead and move on to your orange, and then just tip your cup the opposite direction. Go really slow around your tape and just let your orange fall down into your pink. With your orange, you're just going to do a light coat first. Just go around it lightly. Let your orange fall down into your pink, even over where your pink had fell into your orange paint. And just sprinkle it on there. Go slow. even if you have to do a couple coats, if you go slow the first time and you just go over it a few times, it'll make your ombre blend better. Okay, and then once you get done and you feel like your ombre is good, however many times you decide to go over it, I let my cup sit for about 2 hours and cured, and then once it's cured, I will remove the tape and start on the next section. Now that it's completely cured, I mixed up 2 mLs of my liquidy split epoxy, and I'm just going to lightly apply it around the edges of my fine glitter, apply it to the bottom, make sure there's no dry spots, and then I am going to apply the Chameleon chunky glitter from the Glitter Craze. I accidentally didn't hit the record button, or it didn't record, I don't know what happened, but it missed that part. So you're just going to apply your chunky glitter. Don't worry too much if it's not perfect around your edges. Your edges are going to be covered anyways. And once all of that's applied, grab a small piece of parchment paper and smooth out your chunky glitter, and that will help you when you apply your glitter, your first coat of epoxy. You won't have to sand so much on before you apply your second coat. So before you move on to your next step after this one, apply 2 coats of epoxy. I did liquidy split, so I applied a coat. 2 hours later, I applied another coat, and then once it's cured, I will do my lines. For my lines on this tumbler, and you're going to want to remove all your tape, make sure all your tape's done before you epoxy. And then when you go onto your next section, you can use vinyl. I'm actually using nail tape that I purchased off Amazon. I also have some from PDB. I like to get my nail tape from there too. So I'm just going to double line up my nail tape on here. And when you're doing this, make sure you have a good new blade on your X-Acto knife that will help you when you're trimming up your nail tape. And with this, I'm going to apply my thicker nail tape first, and I will apply that thicker one right on the edge of the chunky and the fine. And I will do that, and then once that is applied and it's trimmed up, I will grab the thinner nail tape and I will add it to the side of the thicker one. Now my thinner one is going to go over my fine glitter, but you can do it any way you want. If you don't want to do 2 lines, don't do 2 lines. I just like to do 2 lines because it makes me feel like it just gives a little bit added extra. And for this one, I wanted it to be cool and extra, so I added 2 lines. And that's just what I'm going to be doing in the next part of this video. Once you get all your nail tape added, it's trimmed up, your V's are even, they perfectly match. I applied a coat of epoxy and it was done. And it took about 4 hours to cure and then 24 hours set time before I could give it out. All of the materials that I use in this video, I will link them down in the description box. There will be a few coupon codes for epoxy, vinyl, and a few other things that you can use down in the description box. If you have any questions, ask them in the comment section. And if you like my video, please give me a thumbs up. I appreciate each and every one of you for the support, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.